All right, and we're live. So welcome everyone to this remote interview. My name is Lisette and I'm interviewing people and companies doing great things remotely. And today, finally, after years of trying to do this on the line, I have Nagesh Sharma. And Nagesh, you are the CEO of FlowSphere. You're located in Bengaluru, India, which I learned today is a different pronunciation than Bangalore, what people might be used to, but the new name is Bengaluru. You are also an enterprise Lean-Agile change agent, a collaboration superpowers facilitator, a management 3.0 facilitator, and more certifications than I've ever seen on anybody else. So welcome, Nagesh. I'm so happy to finally have you here.
Thank you so much, Lisette. And I'm so happy to be on this show because I've been waiting for years to happen. And finally, today we are on air. So thank you for having me and giving me this opportunity.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So let's start with the first question, which always is, what does your virtual office look like? What do you need to get your work done?
And that's a fantastic question. So what does my virtual office looks like? So I'll go with something which is like the must-haves, the should-haves, and the could-haves. And for me, the most important things for me is a solid internet connection. So my virtual office has definitely a 1 Gbps connection, fiber optic. So I want a very seamless internet. And then I am a man who believes in productivity, multiple screens. So I love having, I have an iMac and then and then I have a MacBook Air separately. I have connected it to a large screen television so that I can actually mirror my desktop. It helps me becoming more and more productive. So these things are definitely must-haves for me. And one more thing which is a must-have for me is a small mini bar that is under the self-care portion, which has a
I
few
love it.
sweets for me. So I have some coconut water in there, sometimes some little snacks so that I can keep hydrating myself. Because what I have learned in this pandemic situation is resilience. To be able to bounce back is one of the key things for everybody. So I really give a lot of importance for self-care, and not to forget illumination. I think I need enough lux inside the room so that there is good daylight as well as the artificial light. So these are definitely must-haves for me. Should-haves is something like uh, I use certain tooling and technology. So for example, I use Speedify, and Speedify binds different kinds of internet connections. So for example, I have two Wi-Fi at my home from two different service providers, just to ensure, though they promise me 99.9% uptime, I still want to ensure that I am making the best of both, and I use Speedify to bind them both together. So at any given point, I'm getting like 1400 to 1500 Mbps. So that is
That's
something,
awesome.
yeah. And what is nice to have is the flip chart behind. So if I am wanting to do some kind of visualization, I will use this to very quickly sketch on that. Nice to have. Sometimes it really helps me. That's pretty much, in short, my virtual office, Lisette.
I love it. Okay, so one more thing that you have that people who are watching the video portion of this, one, they'll notice the flip chart that's right behind you. I have a question about that, but they'll also notice the guitar.
Oh,
So
yes.
is this also in your self-care mini
That's,
bar guitar self-care
yeah. So
package?
that's my self-care package. So I also offer a lot of trainings, for example, Scrum.org trainings and Scaled Agile trainings and M3O CS. So my plan in the upcoming collaboration superpowers work together anywhere is during the break, I'm going to just play the guitar and I'm going to just play it. And I also encourage my participants to play their favorite instrument, play some songs. So want to keep it as much as lively as we can in the remote.
Yeah, and actually, I attended an event yesterday just by chance. I was giving a talk at a virtual event, and it was a hybrid event. So they had some virtual speakers and some hybrid speakers, but they also had musicians, and they kept all the talks really short, like 10-minute talks. They would then have a band come in and play for a couple of minutes a song, and then somebody else would get up. And I have to say, the musical interludes really helped. It kind of livened the whole thing up, even as a virtual attendee. I was very impressed. So yeah, don't underestimate the power of music. But I've got to dive a little bit into a couple of the things, or one thing in particular, and that is your insistence on a super good internet quality.
Yeah.
That you have. I mean, you have probably the fastest internet of anybody I've ever that I've ever interviewed, including myself. I have 200 megabits per second. Why? Why is internet so important for you that you've gone through all this trouble? You have an extra app and two different service providers.
And so I learned it hard way with it. So I remember one of the earlier COVID-19 days where I had a lower bandwidth internet connection. And suddenly I observed that the bandwidth fluctuated. And my students were suddenly thinking, where is Nagesh? I mean, where is the trainer? And that day, momentarily, so the disruption was for hardly 1 or 2 seconds, but and that kind of threw me out of my Zoom, and I had to come back. So it took me like 5 to 6 minutes of lead time to come back. While the customer satisfaction was still high because they were still into the breakout room, I felt I need to really do something about it, because people can, if we do not have a good solid internet connection, I think remote is like, it is not at all going to work. So then I decided to go for a service provider who provides me a very solid connection with highest uptime. And I also have a backup. And so the router is on the UPS, and two connections binded together just to ensure that I have a seamless experience for people. Because when people come to the workshops online, they already come with cognitive bias that I don't know how is it going to be. I'm not sure. So I want to really break that barrier within a couple of minutes by showing them an awesome experience, saying that, yes, it can be as good as, or probably better than an in-person experience.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's always arguable, but the possibilities are more. The fact that I can be here in the Netherlands today and talk to you in India, and we're having a seamless, crystal clear conversation where I can see you very clearly, I can hear you very clearly. I mean, none of us needed to travel, and here we are. So you know, the possibility that it opens up is so awesome. I mean, that's why we're here, really. I want to dive into FlowSphere and what your company does. And so you told me that you're doing a lot of training and consulting to help your customers go through a digital transformation and to help them navigate sort of this new world of working. Tell us a little bit about FlowSphere and why you set it up and what exactly that you guys do.
So FlowSphere is co-founded in India by Sasha Zudek, who is my partner in Switzerland, and myself in 2018. The vision of our company was to help transform organizations from a traditional approach to a more lean, agile approach. Every company on this planet is a software company. So I always say that either they know or they're yet to discover that. And we want to partner with them in their journey of the transformation from traditional ways of working to a more lean, agile approach. And we help them with training services, with coaching services, with consulting services. And we have a boutique range of services which we offer to our clients. And one thing, Lisette, which I want to tell is we want to partner with our clients, which means that we don't want to be a vendor or a supplier, but we want to walk through them hip to hip in their journey of transformation. More precisely, maybe agile transformation, lean agile transformations. So we do not want them to be felt alone. We want to say that, hey, we are walking with you. We are not going to leave you. And we want to really help you. So our engagement gets over. It doesn't mean that you are not going to see me later. So we are going to provide you a continuous support. So we are true believers in delivering value to our clients and customers. That was the vision behind co-founding this company. And since then, I must say that the journey is not easy. It's a roller coaster, but it has been fascinating. I can never thank myself for taking the decision.
Okay, and oh, so many questions that are entering in the head, but let's dive into, so, and do you work with your company remotely then? You said you have a partner in Switzerland, so you must be working remotely. What are some of the challenges that you guys faced when you first started out? What are some of the things that you struggled with in particular in trying to just, set up this company together and move forward?
Yeah, that's a great question, Lizette. And like any other company, um, we started with a lot of challenges, and one of the challenges was alignment, creating alignment between both the counterparts. So of course we had certain principles, certain values, and then technology plays a big role in bridging the gap. So we leveraged a lot of technology. So for example, we use Mural, Miro for virtual collaboration, and we also leverage some of the Jira boards, and we use that for running our own sprints. We plan our whole work into sprints. So we deliver it in an agile way. So everything is visualized in the pipeline. So pretty much we want to create more visibility. So we tried solving the alignment issues with that. And every quarter we have workshops remote, so that we come together. We are going to envision how do we want to operate as a company, what are our goals, what do we want to accomplish. So I think technology plays a vital role here.
Sounds like the agile methodologies also play quite a big role in terms of how you plan and align yourselves. And
Yeah.
I would expect that, being that you're a lean agile company helping people with digital transformation. So that would make sense, of course. But so how has COVID then changed the way that you guys are working?
And that is yeah, so COVID has, initially when it started, I think it was like crossing the chasm. We being a lean agile company, we already envisaged the change. We already anticipated that this is going to last long. This is going to stay, and this is not something which might get over in a couple of. I'm not saying we are pessimistic, but we have taken calculated risks. So, which means prior to COVID, my virtual office infrastructure wise was not up to the mark, so that I can play my A game. So I did not had so many multiple monitors. I did not had a high speed internet connection, extra lamps, or backup UPS. But we started investing in both the sites in terms of how can we leverage technology, software licensing. So for example, we had a license of Zoom, and suddenly we got to know that some of the clients are hesitant to use Zoom because of Zoom bombing. So we had to ensure that we have backups for that. So for example, MS Teams or Blue Jeans. So we started investing in multiple softwares. Having a good mic is extremely important. So complementing it with a pop filter is even better. And taking it to the next level by using crisp.ai. So like
Oh
this,
yeah.
small things started complementing. So I think pre-COVID, these weren't existing because most of our work was happening in person, and only a few things were asynchronous. But I think now we have a lot of items which are asynchronous apart from synchronous communication.
How how you used to do a lot of trainings in person. I'm assuming you've moved the majority online, or is it 100% online at this point?
So at this point of time, 100% online.
What did that transformation look like? Because a lot of people have had to take their events online or their trainings online. How did you do it? How did you so work together anywhere? That's always been online. So, that's one thing. So it was designed to be online, but the other trainings that you give that were not designed to be online, how did you transform those into online trainings?
So I'd like to say that, and this is a confession from me. Uh, in the initial days of the COVID, I was having my own cognitive biases, thinking that online, I'm not sure how effective it's gonna be, because I was also a firm believer that an in-person class is much better than an online. So, which means my key lesson which I learned was proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. So I believe in this 6 P's. So I started doing a lot of preparation, which means, for example, I need to also already make aware my students that what they can expect a technical startup, bringing them up to speed with the tooling. I started creating Loom videos, bringing them up to speed with how do you use Zoom. I'm a big fan of Miro and Mural, so I use them for real-time virtual collaboration, but students were not really ready. So small videos of how you can do that. And before the actual training days, do a technical startup for them already, so that they know that a lot of things has to be moved through asynchronous with respect to the prep activity. I started investing in Teachable so that I can give a lot of pre-work for my students. I can also track whether they are on doing it or not. I can make them accountable for that, because I believe in teaching serious learners and not some people who just want to buy certificates. So I really believe in that. And somebody, we have to give that message again and again. And I also splitted my 2 days of typical class into a few days of class, a few hours every day, because I learned that Zoom fatigue can be very dangerous, not only for the students, but also for the trainers. Um, so a lot of preparation activity actually. Uh,
Yeah, quite a bit. And I'm really curious about the technical starter. Has it changed since COVID started and now? Do you feel that people that the students in your classes now, do they have it? Do they still need this technical starter, or has COVID sort of pushed them? You know, do you need to still do that?
So I would say that there's a big majority of the chunk, they have already moved. I would say that they have already passed the chasm, but we have still few people who still need to be on board in terms of technical startup. So what I do now is I do not have a specific day on technical startup, which I used to do before, but now what I would do is on the day one of the training, I will reserve first few minutes for onboarding people. And those will
Okay.
be 10% of the crowd probably.
Right. So just instead of doing a whole separate session, you can now just do the very first few minutes, explain a couple of things, and then people are off and running. So that actually is a pretty great aspect of what COVID has done for the remote movement, which is to really bring everybody online with the very basics. And indeed, in workshops, we used to have to teach the basics of like, oh, get a proper microphone and a headset and a webcam and all of this stuff. But I think people are definitely investing. And one of the important things that I think that you're really highlighting is that these little things, seemingly little things that you've done, have actually really helped your online collaboration and have professionalized your online trainings, I can imagine, because you're coming through crystal clear, you're well lit, people can hear you, you've got flip charts. So one thing I want to ask about the flip chart is, when do you use the paper flip chart and when do you use a virtual flip chart like Miro or Mural? How do you
So
differentiate when you use that?
that's a great question, Lisette. And in terms of visualization, I actually use three kinds of visualization. Number one, Miro or Mural, where I already create certain things and not much of an explanation is required. I can just move a few things, and that is one. Number two, I use iPad with a pencil. So I do screen share, and that works very seamless. So in a situation where one fine day, Mural might be down, and it has been instances when it has been down during the trainings. The collaboration between the technology, which is Zoom, as well as the iPad, doesn't work, then I have a backup plan, which is flip
So
charts.
fashion flip chart paper and
Yes, so old school. This is my last backup plan. So typically I use a lot of iPad and pencil and then Miro Mural. But then if I feel that no, these things are not looking like real time, but there's a lag, then I would like to go for this one. So I want to really be prepared for the worst case scenario, Licit.
Yeah, having a backup plan is super important. I think it's part of any sort of remote home office toolkit is you want to have more than one headset available in case like maybe this one runs out of battery. I mean, it stops working sometimes. So in that case, you want to do something else, or you want to have a backup webcam, or, you know, there's all kinds of things that I think that people don't realize, like tech just fails sometimes, and there's no, you know, we don't know why. And if you're in the middle of a training, you don't have 15 minutes to troubleshoot and figure out what's going on. How have you seen businesses change in terms of what they're requesting in trainings or digital transformation since COVID? What are your clients saying to you?
So one of the things which the clients are saying is what 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 would be the roles of these team members, for example, scrum masters? Is it going to be the same? Because you cannot do this, cannot apply the same principles like in person for remote, because remote is different than in person. So you might want to adapt some practices. So do they have some additional responsibilities? So they are seeking more information, they are seeking more clarity on collaboration between these agile roles. Also, I think they are seeking some guidance on how to do meetings more effectively, remote, how to drive more camaraderie between the teams. These are certain things which are very subtle and not really technical, but these are extremely important for the businesses to run. So more about the resilience piece.
Oh, I love that's a really good point, because in the at the moment, resilience is what's keeping a lot of businesses afloat, is like the ability to actually go remote in this time, and to sort of be resilient in this time. So one more question about your self-care kit, because I'm really curious. What are you seeing in the market right now in terms of self-care that or well-being in businesses, or what are your clients saying to you? Because I really love that you've got this mini bar, and you've got the guitar, and you've got, you know, water and snacks and things to help you throughout the day, so that, you know, you're comfortable in your own space. And one of the things that I've heard businesses say is that they're seeing a lot of burnout amongst their colleagues, and because people are overworking during this pandemic, and also the stress of the pandemic. I mean, it's just super stressful. Are you seeing your clients coming to you also with issues of well-being and burnout?
Seeing that as well. So there is a lot of issues coming up with burnout, and people are not able to find that balance, because what is happening is there's a notion of being online always. It's a two-side problem, which I have noticed, Lisette. So that there's always somebody who is taking the service, and there's always somebody who is providing the service. So, which means that, say, for example, somebody who is being offered, if we term that person as client, and somebody who is providing, if that person is like a supplier or a service provider. Now, this is what I have seen, that somebody offering the service is always thinking that I need to be available always to ensure that there is a higher customer satisfaction. And the person who is on the receiving side, sometimes I have seen that, oh, anyways, you have no commute time, anyways, you are at home. So I don't see much of a problem if you being online or you being available when there is a need. So now I think there's a mismatch of expectations, and people are not speaking out loud. So I always recommended such people to say that, hey, show radical candor. I think I think what is missing is that you need to show high respect as well as high courage, and that's where respect and courage, where they meet, there we have radical candor, and that is what is missing in most of the organizations. And whenever I have such opportunities to help them, coach them, I always tell them that, come on guys, let us put it together, let us have some working agreements in place to say that how do we still meet the business results by taking care of ourselves. So this is something which I always tell to the businesses.
I love that, where respect and what meet? It was respect and
Courage.
uh, Courage, where respect and courage meet. That is beautiful. Radical candor. Indeed, because we need to have the psychological safety in our organizations for people to be able to say something if they need to. So that's the courage part, and also just the respect for ourselves and for others to be able to just respect that somebody may be going through a hard time and needs a little bit more space and care. Or yeah, I love it. That's really beautiful. So we're reaching the end of our time, which is crazy. I have so many more questions, but I guess I'll end with the last two, which is, if you were giving advice to people who are just starting out on their digital transformation, what would you tell them? One,
So,
contact you. I know, I'm sorry to interrupt. So first, contact Nagesh. He'll help you through it. But then what would you say?
thank you so much. So I think my piece of advice to people would be that uh, I think one, two, three advices. Trust your people. Uh, Trust means providing them space so that they can self-organize and they can really deliver business results. Because what I have seen, Licit, is when you trust people, provide them space, people rock. So we need to do that. So I always tell people that provide that environment of safety, psychological safety, where your people feel it is okay and they feel that they're not being monitored. And I have people who trust me. I think this trust piece is extremely important in remote and COVID times. So, because once you have that as your building block, everything else is taken care. Like Patrick Lencioni says in Five Dysfunctions of the Team. So trust is the basis, and that is built based on vulnerability. So I think that is my single most advice.
So trust, provide a safe space, provide space, and let the professionals do their thing. As a leader,
Yeah.
get out of the way and let the people that you hired do the thing that you hired them for.
And I think leader has to play the role of a steward. They need to become stewards because stewardship complements servant leadership. So enable people being a steward, being at the back seat, let them drive, show them vision, give them what, let them decide how. So I
Yeah,
think that's
it's way more fun than micromanaging and everybody's doing everything in one particular way. I mean, I've noticed that with my colleagues at Collaboration Superpowers too. It's like you don't have time. You have to delegate stuff, and there's just no time. And luckily, there's no time for me to micromanage because they did a way better job than I could have instructed them to do anyway. So indeed, it's just get out of the way, let the people do their thing. So very last question, it's an easy one. If people want to learn more about you and your company, what is the best way to get in touch with you? We will of course put the website for FlowSphere in the show notes, but how about for you?
so. So the easiest way for reaching me out is apart from the website, they can actually log into LinkedIn and they can search Nagesh Sharma, pretty much easily searchable there. So another way is they can tweet me at just for Nagesh, JUST numeric 4 NAGESH Nagesh, and those are two simple ways to reach me out, Lisette, and I'm happy to help people in the best of my capacity.
Yeah, I think that comes across. I think I'm hoping that people will hear that. So on LinkedIn and in Twitter, always great ways to network and get in touch with people. I'll put your information in the show notes. Nagesh, it was awesome having you. I took copious notes, as you can see here. Took copious notes. So I hope people got as much out of the interview as I did. Thank you so much for spending your time here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Lisa.
All right, thanks for listening, everybody, and until next time, be powerful.